A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group. This is SDIG Live. President of the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group, Dr. Joseph Nwoye, today in conversation with Mr. Yaredi Eninga, Principal of the Kakuma Refugee Secondary School in Kakuma, Northwest Kenya, and also COO, Chief Operating Officer of the organization Action for Refugee Life. Kakuma Refugee Camp is one of the largest and oldest refugee camps in the world. And we have a little bit of information, a little bit of intro into some of the background to Kakuma Refugee Camp. Yaredi Eninga is the principal of Kakuma Refugee Camp Secondary School. In a moment, you will see just a minute each of two videos that will give you, as our listeners, an idea of both the challenges and the amazing successes that have been achieved by Action for Refugee Life and the team. The first is just a little information about Kakuma itself.
One of the tragedies of war is the issue of refugees. The 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees defines a refugee as someone who, owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular group or political opinion, is outside of the country of his nationality and is unable to, or owing to such fear, is unwilling to avail himself of the protection of that country. The refugee camp at Kakuma on the Kenya-Sudan border does not make news headlines anywhere in the world. Yet, it remains a constant reminder of the colossal cost of armed conflict that has rocked most of continental Africa. The Kakuma refugee camp was established in 1991 to accommodate the lost boys of South Sudan fleeing conflict and violence. Over the years, however, the camp has taken in refugees from many other African countries, including South Sudan, Sudan, Somalia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Burundi, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Eritrea, Uganda, Tanzania, and Congo-Brazzaville. Currently, the camp houses more than 170,000 multi-ethnic refugees.
There was a conflict in South Sudan. We started at Juba, and people started coming, escaping from there, escaping killings. And every day, about 300 to 400 refugees from Sudan started coming here, and they have been settled here. And today,
So that gives you a little bit of an idea about the environment back in 1991, 92. Today is Friday, the 21st of April, 2023, and we have a final short clip from Hassan, Muhammad Hassan, a representative and worker at Kakuma Refugee Camp, presenting a short speech at the World Economic Forum in 2019 in Davos in Switzerland.
The opportunity to begin with, how do I put 20 years of disappointment into words? I've been, for the past couple of days, since I was told I would speak, I've been thinking of what to say and how do I put that into words? How do I bottle the emotions and what I feel into words for you people or for people to understand? My name is Mohammed Hassan and I'm a refugee from Kakuma camp in northwestern Kenya. And the theme of my life has been displacement and confinement. I've spent the last 20 years of my life in a camp, and I will go back to that camp next week. So what is at stake here is it's crucial for me and the people that I represent in the camps. The place I come from, the camp, it's not an isolated place. We have 185,000 refugees from 10 different nationalities. And we're just like other people, and we have aspirations and we have dreams and we have needs. And it surprises me that money and capital moves around the world in seconds, but it takes a refugee decades. Or in the case of my mother, she never had a chance to get out, waiting for 25 years for a place to go, for a place to call home. What does it all mean? We talk about ethical and sustainable development. We talk about how we can be ethical with robots and machines. We want to solve death. And there's so much human suffering. We haven't figured out life yet. And I feel I'm on the sidelines watching in, and not just me as an individual, but the people that I represent. And I'm here at Davos to say that, refugee camps are not ethical, putting people in faraway places and pretending that they don't exist. That is not ethical, it's not sustainable, and it's not conducive for human growth. It kills people, it kills the spirit. And that's what keeps me up at night. Will I spend the next 20 in the camp? Will my brothers and sisters, will they have a chance to have a home, to own a document, to have a sense of belonging and identity? And I don't see that people don't talk about those things, in a global stage, and I don't hear those conversations. People would rather pretend that we don't exist. I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for equal opportunity to be given the tools that I need to thrive and to make a life for myself. I'm asking for access to education, access to documents, access to a future that I can feel I am part of. And I'm asking for all of you to demystify the refugee experience. We are not animals and we are not criminals. It's not a crime to flee from your country. I don't know what you're all afraid of. We're human beings and refugees are real people. Get a chance to know us. We're not that different from you. It can happen to anyone. And that's the message that I want to get across to Davos, so that when I go back to my camp, I can tell my refugees I represented them well, and I tried my best to my capabilities to portray and to show you how they feel.
And so, there was a short introduction to the background to today's conversation with Mr. Yaredi Eninga. Yaredi Eninga is a CEO, Chief Operating Officer of Action for Refugee Life, and in his role as principal of Kakuma Refugee Secondary School with 5,000 students, he's demonstrated a remarkable ability to manage complex operations and identify areas for improvement and implementing effective solutions. So today we are in conversation with Dr. Joseph Nwoye from the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group in Maryland and Mr. Yaredi Eninga, principal of Kakuma Refugee Secondary School and COO of Action for Refugee Life. So now it's my pleasure to hand over to the president of the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group, Dr. Joseph Nwoye. Dr. Nwoye, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam. What a moving experience. And Mr. Yaredi is really a really heartfelt situation, looking at what human beings go through. I think that Mohammed asked very important questions. But the way I want us to do today is that we're going to deviate from how we usually do things. I know that Adam has his own plan as to how he wants us to do it. But more importantly to me is to get you to know, okay, it seems like Laura had gone. I had wanted to have her speak with you before we proceed to the part we want to do. The reason is that she's the part of the leadership that are working on the figuring how we can communicate with you guys. And I've told Adam that one of the most important things for me is to get your team, you of course at the helm of it, then we get our team, and then together we get them to know one another and do what I'll call cooperative teaching or team teaching, if you will, where our people and your people will get to know one another first. And in terms of, looking at the content of what they're doing, what they're using, that's what we may call curriculum. We will also look at the content of what we call curriculum here and figure out what would be the best combination to give them what they need. Because we always operate on what I call consumer orientation. So what in essence it means that you get to know what people you are trying to serve, what are their needs. Then based on their needs, then you begin to put something together that will meet those needs if done correctly. But since Laura is not here because she has to work, and that's what we have to deal with until we're able to support them the way we would want to. I want to shift to another person who is increasingly imagined to be very vital to what we do. That is Nancy Bodine. Nancy Bodine, I'm not going to be telling you about her experience. I rather want her to do that. But what I want to mention with Nancy is that Nancy is the person who is coordinating our activities, such as when we have conferences, when we have people like you that may need to be interviewed. Sometimes I may not be the right person. We're going to use psychology, we're going to use sociology, we're going to use economic, we're going to use intellectual experience of what we know in order to figure out how is it going to be done. So she's going to be at the helm of that decision making. We are now going through discussions, engagement as to how we're going to be able to do it. And I can guarantee you that she's very sophisticated, very knowledgeable, and more importantly, she's very passionate about helping or doing all she can, because she doesn't believe that inequity should be at all. She doesn't believe that any sort of discrimination should be happening. To the questions Mohammed was asking, I know that you would be touching her because I happen to know her well. And to that, I would like to have Nancy introduce herself, because we're going to be working with all of us. That's part of why the President of Action for Refugee, I have been looking at the messages we are corresponding recently, and there are things he's doing that I think Nancy will be very critical in putting it in the direction I think he should be put in. So without further, taking time, Nancy, would you please introduce yourself to our our honorable guest, Yaredi, and then if you want to tell her whatever you have done and what you are doing, that's fine to tell him, because I think we have to have a very long partnership and engagement that will be fruitful on both sides. So if you could introduce yourself, please do.
Good morning, Mr. Eninga. I am.
Yes, Mom.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I am a retired nurse in the United States. I specialized in education. I was a nursing instructor. I have done a lot of conference planning, and that is what Dr. Nwoye has asked me to participate in, and I would like to help your efforts there. So it is nice to make your acquaintance, and I will allow you the time to give your presentation today.
All right. Thank you very much, Nancy. And to cap that one, I think you gotta be taking that to with Adam. Adam knows exactly what you need to know, and I want him to impact that to you. And I think with that and the collaborative effort we are all making, Adam is doing some immense work, which you can see some of them already. I think together we're gonna move this thing and move it in a way that we will all be happy at the end of it, or when it begins to move. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, Yaredi, back again. Then let's go to the formalized one Adam planned, and we want to try and do the best we can. Under normal circumstances, we ask our guests questions, and they respond to those questions. I don't know, did you see the thing I sent you? I believe either last night or this morning, early this morning. Yaredi? Seems like he's frozen. Mr. Adam?
Yeah, just checking at the moment whether Yaredi is still connected with us. Bear with me just one moment.
All right. Yeah, I think it's frozen. Anyway.
Yes, he may have to drop back in just one moment's time with data and
I know
connectivity challenges, and he is back with us at the moment. Mr. Eninga, are you with us?
Yes, Adam. I'm very sorry that the network.
No, don't be sorry. We do understand. In fact, I just had similar experience about an hour ago, so we quite understand. We just have to do what we can. So I'm happy to have you back. I was asking you a question whether you saw the thing I sent you either last night or this morning.
Sure, I saw the message.
Okay, so the most vital part of the message you saw would be you're having to tell us about you, tell us what the day is like, because hearing Mohammed is much enriching, and he was able to communicate the situation, not only for what he's seeing within that short time period, but more importantly, how he has the heart of his people. He knows that he's representing them, and representing them, I may say, very well. So with that, I would like you to just give us a sense of whom you are, what propelled you to do what you do. Normally, some people will just do for themselves, but you and Kazi, it seems to me that you guys are bent into not only yourself, but more importantly, those who are suffering in that refugee camp. I think it tells a lot about you guys. So if you could take 3 to 7 minutes and tell us about you, tell us about your school, tell us everything you can tell within that time period. Then we're gonna go to further discussion and including, of course, where you can be asking me questions and I can be asking you questions to get a good sense of who we are. And then the last part will be when I would shift to have the audience ask questions. I know that we don't have much of audience. Again, that was because of how it was designed. So that's okay. So if you could, please, could you take the time I had asked you to tell us about you and the work you do?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Joseph Nwoye and Adam and other audience who are in this call. I'm by the name Yaredi Eninga Sema from Congo, DRC. Currently, I'm living in Kakuma refugee camp as a refugee who entered in Kenya since 2010 after running away from my homeland, which is Democratic Republic of Congo. By the time I enter in Kakuma refugee camp and get registered by UNHCR Kenya, after 3 months, I was employed as a primary teacher in one of the primary school here in the refugee camp. That was the year 2010 in August, date 22, I can remember. Then I started teaching as a primary teacher from that time, 2010 up to 2014, when I was promoted as a deputy head teacher in one of the primary school. Later on, I was promoted as the head teacher in primary school. Then again, as the life goes on, I was shifted from primary to secondary school as an ICT teacher. Then again, from there, I became a principal in Kakuma Secondary School. That is my working experience in Kakuma refugee camp. By that time, I was teaching and continuing with the life in the camp, helping the children and students graduating, finishing their schools. Now we come up with an idea of RL by the time that we think of being in a school of 5,000 to 6,000 students in one school, more than 100 students in a class from Form 1 to Form 4. By the end of 4 years, the student will graduate. More than 900 students will graduate, will do the final government exams. Where will they go after graduation, after finishing their secondary school? Where are they? Are they in community? Where is our girls? Where is our boys after finishing the secondary school? That's the time we come up with the idea of formation of Action for Refugee Life, that is RL, helping the young boys and girls who graduated from high school to make sure that they continue fulfilling their dreams. They continue making sure that their dreams will become true. Not only that finishing high school can be the end of their education. Not only somebody who has failed in secondary school cannot be employed. So we come up with that idea. It was 2022. Together with Mr. Kiza Mauridi and other 10 members, we bring our head down and think of formation of refugee life and come up with the mission, vision, and good objectives that it can help any young refugees to continue living in a better life without depending to UNHCR support, without depending in anyone's support, but if they can be skilled and get an opportunity to be even employed remotely, they can support their community, they can support their families, they can support their neighbors, and make sure that we create a good generation that can support themselves. That's why RL comes in, and here we are today. I really thank you people who comes and bring us on the board. We elaborate about this one, we talk about this one, we exchange idea about it so that how we can get help or how we can achieve our mission, our vision, and whatever to make sure that refugees cannot be only depending in getting support from others, but if they can be skilled, they can stand themselves and support themselves and support their communities as well. That was the starting of RL. Back to my school where I am, enrollment of 5,000 students in one school, more than 70 teachers in a school. But if you try to compare the ratio of a teacher to the students, you'll find that one teacher can handle more than 150 students in a day. How is it come? How that teacher can handle those students? But because we think that we are helping the community, we are helping our relatives, our sisters, our brothers, then let us sacrifice ourselves to make sure that this young generation, this student that we are here in Kakuma, get help, get knowledge, get skills so that they can build their future. That's why we are here. We don't scared by the big number of the students who are there. Here we are today. And as I'm speaking right away, I'm in my school. We have closed the school. All students are at home, but I'm here to make sure that I talk to you and we discuss the point that they can be discussed today. And again, out of 900, like last year, for example, the Form 4s, because here the Kenyan curriculum in secondary school, there is Form 1 up to Form 4. So the student, after completing the primary education, they will go to secondary school. Then from secondary school, they will start from Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, up to Form 4. Then after finishing Form 4, those who get the high grade marks, they can be chosen to any of the college or university anywhere in Kenya. But the issue here in Kakuma refugee camp is a bit different. You might find that in one school, like last year in my school, only Form 4, the candidates, 900 completed secondary education. That was last year, 900. Out of 900, only 6 students got scholarship. 6 students only got scholarship, and they are now in colleges and universities. Where are the rest? Out of 900, only 6, 894. Where are they? Is it that because they failed, they got low marks? Is it that only 6 who have exactly interacted? The answer is no. Come to the climate in Kakuma refugee camp and the situation and how the students are learning makes them also get the low marks. Not only that, they don't understand what the teachers being delivering or teaching in their classrooms. So we are still thinking of how can we continue helping these students who cannot get chance to continue with their education. Students are there, they are willing to continue, with their studies. But where are the chances? Where will they go? Is it that to complete Form 4, make the end of their education? Where are the people outside Kakuma? Where are they? So we are still thinking of how we can help these people, how we can help these students, not only in my school. We have 4 secondary schools here in Kakuma refugee camp, and the situation are the same, totally the same, completely the same. If today I'm trying to help the students who are in Kakuma refugee, what about other schools here in Kakuma refugee? What about other 3 secondary schools? Today we are talking about secondary school. What about primary schools? As I said before, I was a deputy, a teacher, and a headmaster in one of the primary schools here in Kakuma. The enrollment of primary school is a bit higher compared to the secondary school, whereby you'll find in one of the primary more than 10,000 students in one school. But come to the secondary, you'll find that we can be able to enroll less than that number. Where are the rest? Where are those young boys and girls from primary to secondary? In between, they get lost. Where are they? And what the world are doing about it? That's why we come up with RL to see how we can help these young boys and girls to fulfill their dreams. Through empowering them with the skills, giving them opportunities on remote jobs, giving them opportunities to express themselves, they can fulfill their dreams and they can be help to their communities. I cannot stand alone. RL itself, it cannot stand alone. We need people on board to help us. We need people who can give us ideas, plans to make sure that our vision, missions, and our objectives comes through. Thank you.
Mr. Yaredi Eninga, thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate the comments you've made. And I think, as you said, no one can do it alone. And we all have things we can do to support and help one another. We may not be able to do what we would like to, but certainly we're gonna try to see how can we do, even if it's just moral discussions, ideas. If that's all we can do, that will be fine. But I think that if we put our heads together, we may actually be able to do something more than what an individual can say. I used to be serving as a cooperative inspector, and during those days, I learned that the power of bringing people together who are committed to doing something can never be underestimated. Famous American anthropologist Margaret Mead reminds us that it may not be just one person, but one person can begin, other people can join, and as they move in, they do something that no one will ever anticipated that they can get done. So I think this relationship, I would like us to continue with this relationship and see how we can, whatever we can do, it may not be the type of thing that we would want to do it right away, but however little it is, if it adds any value to the cause of your ambitious goal, then that would be a good one. I really appreciate it, but I want to just ask you a couple of questions. Then from there, I would give our audience some time to ask questions. And since the people here are part and parcels of SDIG, we'll be able to figure what will be the next. Unfortunately, the person for the education division isn't here, but that's all right. We're gonna be able to continue to do what we can. Now, my first question would be, what inspires you to do this?
Yes.
No, what is driving you to do this? What are you expecting to achieve? Considering the immense challenges, and yet you are persisting. Can you tell us briefly what is really driving you to do this?
Good. I think you are getting me.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sure, good. What inspired me to do this? And not only me, but why are we doing this as a real team? I personally, as I said in my introduction, I have been in school community more than 13 years in Kakuma refugee camp. I have seen how the young boys and girls live in school as well as in community. I have engaged with them, talking with them, listened to them, and tried to make a follow-up to them to make sure that if I can see them fulfill their dreams.
All right. All right. As you work with the people there, just let me withdraw my question. Let me somebody's raising her hand. Let me know. Nancy, are you raising your hand?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to ask Mr. Eninga, when he was speaking about helping graduates to complete their dreams, to become independent of UN support and support themselves and family, what is your ambition for the graduates to find work?
Well, as I said in my introduction, that being in school or a student fail in exam does not mean that he knows nothing. We believe that there is something that that student know, but it's only limited opportunities that we are getting here in Kakuma refugee camp that makes that student being in community, being forgotten. And if you can read well in our vision and mission of RL, we say that one of the mission is to train these young boys and girls to give them equal opportunity in skills. Might be in technology, for example, we train them in technology. And then after training them in technology, nowadays the world is so broad that people are working remotely. If we try to train them in technology, and then we take them in the business course, these young girls and boys who are completing secondary school and they did not get chance to continue with their education, they can be employed remotely if they get that skill. That's what we are aiming to.
Yaredi, I think you're absolutely correct. And I really salute you for the thinking process and sort of fleshing it out and kind of looking from where you are to where you want to go. So it's clear that you're on your way, even with limitations, immense limitations. You guys are still working. And I want to say this. What you are seeing relatively is being what we see everywhere. It's about equity. It's about social justice. It's all, but this one is much more pronounced, profound. Where countries are fighting one another, see what is happening in Somalia, I believe now. The people that suffer, that's what led to refugees. Otherwise, people would be in their various homes. It wouldn't be worse than what it is when you put people in different locations. Then even you go to relatively advanced countries, such as US, Britain, and so many of other places, issue of equity is still fundamental for one's progress. You articulated so well about the people that fail. They didn't fail because they didn't have the capacity to learn or do what they need to do. They failed to learn because of other circumstances. There are some people we call at-risk kids. There are people that are coming from very poor families. There are people that don't have good schools. But that's not, I must underscore, it's not to be equated with the magnitude of problems that you are enduring and helping to come up with something that will help to alleviate the situation. So again, I salute you for articulating it, and this it will provide us things to talk about. How can we utilize what you already know? How could we move it forward together? Perhaps make it a little bit better. It seems like the former United States, honored United States, our own actually, Teresa, our ambassador is here. So, Miss Ambassador, would you, are you raising your hand or do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Well, I have two questions. One, I see that a lot of the refugees in the camp actually originate from South Sudan and Sudan. So I was asking, has the recent occurrence, what's going on? Are they aware of it? How has it impacted on their mental health? And the second part is, I may have missed in the beginning, but what is the level of corporate support you get from companies that are headquartered in Kenya and in general Africa in supporting the refugee camp?
Yes, Madam Teresa. By starting with your first question about the situation in Sudan, here in Kakuma refugee camp, we are aware of it because we have people from Sudan, we have people from South Sudan and other more nationalities. I personally, I come from Democratic Republic of Congo, as I said before. And we have our colleagues, our friends who are from Sudan, and we have nothing to do. Totally. We ourselves here, we have nothing to do about the situation which are going on in Sudan. What we are doing here is just a prayer and try to communicate with the people who are there to make a follow-up and see if we can, if they are safe. That's what we are doing. We have nothing that we can do. You know, as a refugee here in Kakuma refugee camp, we have limitation of movement, unless if you have a permission or a paper that can guarantee you to move from one place to another. But we are aware of the situation which is going on in Sudan. About your second question on how or which support do we get? What I can say is that as a refugee, as a registered refugee, we do get support from UNHCR as well as the government. But as a REL, up to the moment, we have no support. This is idea that we as refugees, we bring together, we come together and come up with this idea. Up to this moment, as we are speaking, we have never get any support from the government or from any organization here in Kenya. We don't. It's only ourselves that we sacrifice and do whatever that we can do to support our fellow refugees.
Yeah, and that is what I'm thinking, because of the fact that the South Sudan and Sudan are in memory, because we deal with a population around the world that has a very limited memory span of what goes on. They focus on one topic and they move to something else. And this is the opportune time for you all to focus on that. Because I do recall in the beginning when the camp was being set up in Kenya, there was some opposition to it. I myself was not aware it had grown so big. I thought it had already dismantled and moved on. So I'm quite shocked to see how big it has grown. And I'm thinking, given the expansions being done in the countries close by corporate citizens, there should be more focus on Ariel and what you all are doing and take the help, because again, a lot of companies have to look at their ESG and especially their social impact. So they are being judged in Europe on what they can do for communities around the world. And that might be a good opportunity for you all to help them. As they say, if they want to make their numbers look good, they need to reach out and help communities. So that is an area, as Sudan and stuff are in focus right now, because that's on the news and they show you it from the European perspective. Oh my God, I'm stuck in the capital of Sudan. I can't get out. But you need to put it in. Yes, and this is going to cause more refugees. And we have people in our camps who now are worried about their families that they have left behind. We have no forms of telecommunication with them. And this is a way that you all should get your message also out while this is going on. That's just a suggestion.
Well, Mr. Sarisa, this is part of why I think.
But
go ahead. You're ready. You are trying to make a comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I was trying to make a comment from Madam Teresa's suggestion. Thank you, Madam Teresa, for what you have said. It is really, really, really helpful. And the only problem that we have here is that, as I said before, we are limited to do something without permission from the government, without permission from UNCR. That's why whatever that we can do here, our first procedure is to go to UNCR. And then second, we make a follow-up to the government of Kenya. Like today, as we are speaking, we are trying to register RL to the government, because there is no way that you will continue with the activities without being registered by the government of Kenya. We have the paper already, which allow us to do our activity, but we have never been registered yet by the government, although we have the paper from the government. So what we are trying to do right away is to make a follow-up on how we can register RL. And then from there, we can do other more things if by possible.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I could tell you from the start, I'm looking at your website. Your website is called refugeelife.org, and it's the Ariel website.
Yes.
And again, it sounds mundane, it sounds like simplistic, but it's all about branding. So even if I tell people refugeelife.org, there needs to be a connection with Ariel. So you need to brand Ariel so it starts to be recognized. And that could put a pressure onto your government to also start to recognize it. So if you find going through the normal routine of trying to register in Kenya is not working, you can try to get it the other way. Rather than push, you can get it pulled, that people are asking them to please register you. But again, your website name must also reflect it. If I go on your Facebook link you have here, it's again Action for Refugee Life. On the LinkedIn, it says company just admin. I'm just saying, you need to really put Ariel out there. Come up with why we say the word, why is that AREL? Maybe you said it in the beginning and I missed it. But again, get that message out there. Okay. And there are people that will come on board to help you. I mean, you've got a great guy already. You've got Dr. Joseph Nwoye. But again, much more focus needs to be done on it. Okay.
Thank you very much for your comment, Madam Teresa.
Yeah, thank you, Yaredi. Thank you, Teresa. I think this is where I do believe that we have to really figure how do we focus? What are the priorities? How do we do that? The importance of collective us has been dramatized a few minutes ago based on what Teresa has uncovered. It feels like this could be enhanced, this could be done. And I happen to be the kind that will say, you know what? I agree completely with Teresa, and we're going to be tapping on her talent to see how it could be imbued into the process so that Yaredi would have clear point that, oh, you are doing this. You want to think about this. And then these are the reasons why we think you can do this, and that's why it could be better. Now, the other element in Teresa's point that I think is a very good one is to figure how do we, because I don't think people do this at all, how do we look at all these countries that had contributed to this mess, ruining people's lives, and find a way to not to cause any problem, but pinpoint what they're doing in case they forgot, in case the leadership of these very countries forgot the extension of what they've created. And it's like amnesia. The same thing is happening all over again. And find a way that we can begin to elevate the tempo for people to begin to not only know, or people to not only figure out whether they can support wonderful work you guys are doing. I was thinking about 5,000 students with ratio of 700 teachers. That's tell me why people are not succeeding. I would say that
not
they are really
700
succeeding.
teachers.
I'm sorry?
Not 700 teachers, but 70 teachers.
How many teachers?
70.
70.
7.
Ah,
Yes.
me. Okay, so I was actually thinking, okay, that makes it even worse. So what we have to do is that we're going to come up with a strategy session where we're going to be able to look at all these dimensional problems and begin to look at which one can we do something about it. I would, if it comes to instruction or materials or how we can do something that would resonate with people, and we could begin to look into, besides the few people we have who are volunteering to help, we're going to try to see what you can automate, that people can actually access it. And that may be on short, in short terms, the only thing we can do. But in longer term, with people like Teresa, Nancy pushing her own side, like having you guys on the platform, being able to share ideas as to what life is like. Perhaps we may, through that process, get more people to be able to help. We're going to be very innovative. We're going to be very calculated in discussing ways we can do it, and do it in a way that we could see the result, especially in the eyes of those who have been victimized by warmongers, by criminal activities, so on and so forth. So that's that's really good, and I appreciate your comment, Teresa, as well as Nancy. All right. Any more question, or because this is really unconventional way of doing things, but this is unconventional situation, and I'm pleased the way we are addressing it right now, because it gives us opportunity to see what we can do. Yeah, Nancy, go ahead.
Mr. Eninga, I heard you talk about that most jobs are technical jobs that can be done remotely. I'm also thinking, because my background is nursing, that the United States is experiencing a shortage of nurses. And I used to speak about this. 10, 15 years ago, I spoke about the upcoming nursing shortage. And that was before COVID. So I would like to talk with you more, perhaps at a later time, to discuss possibilities of maybe a nursing program for nursing students to come to the States to get training if they make a commitment to stay within a particular healthcare system for a certain amount of years. I'm trying to be brief. I think I might have been too brief.
Nancy,
Sorry,
that's
I did
all
not
well and
get.
good. If you're bringing them in to train them there, fantastic. Because the fear that most of us in the developing countries have is when United States, because I had a big argument with the United States when I was Minister of Health, when you all try to get our nurses who we have trained to come to you. But I love your idea of inviting them and training them there. That's not a problem. I love that.
Okay.
Sorry that, Madam Nancy, I did not get your last point, please.
My point was that there is a huge shortage of nurses, and I used to speak about this about 10, 15 years ago. I gave presentations about the upcoming shortage of nurses. And so I think that healthcare systems need to be more creative about how to recruit and develop nurses, and that maybe there's an opportunity for students from the camp to come to the US on some sort of a scholarship from a healthcare system to train to be nurses, if they could make a commitment to stay in that system for X amount of years before returning back to the camps and servicing their communities there.
Yeah, sure. It is possible. It is possible. When I talk about empowering refugees on the trainings, business trainings, and other opportunities that they can get after training, I personally, to be brief, is that I personally, with Kiza and Mohammed Hassan, we have seen his video. We were one of the people who benefit the training of digital marketing, and then we got a chance to work remotely with some companies in US and Germany remotely. We got that chance to work, and we believe that not only we who can do that, but we have other people, if they can get that opportunity to be trained, they can do the same if that opportunity comes. And the opportunity of coming to US or elsewhere to be trained, it is possible. Again, I personally, I have that opportunity. Through UNCR, I got a resettlement process to come to USA, but at the moment, I don't know when shall I be going, but I have done the first interview and I'm waiting the immigration interview, and then maybe, if God willing, I might be in the United States, maybe. So we also have other organizations which give opportunities to students in form of scholarship, not only in USA. Majority goes to Canada. There is a program called USC, But again, in USA, here in Kakuma refugee camp, there is another program called Elimisha. Elimisha is an Swahili name. In English, we said educate. Yes, educate. In Swahili, we say Elimisha. It's a program started by our fellow refugees who are here in Kakuma refugee camp, went to USA, and then from there, I don't know what happened to them, but they came to the table. There were around 8 refugees in USA, and then come up with this idea, talk to some of the universities there, and then they started that program. As we speak, Kiza is one of the members who are on the board of that program, getting students from secondary schools, those who got high marks, and then they brought them together, give them interview. Those who succeeded, they are taken to United States for their further studies.
Dr.
Mr.
Joseph,
Nwoye,
you are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I want to thank you guys, and I want to say that you guys are making very, very important points. Nancy, going back to Nancy's comment, I think Nancy's comment is, I've had that for so many years. In fact, I have had nurses that we are recruiting from different places, and but that's a very viable option. And going to Teresa's comment about responding to Nancy, that sometimes some people have this view that they don't know how it's gonna go, and there are so many things people think about when we think about all these things. Now, the other point I want to make is in reference to what was discussed earlier about arming people with technology tools and then letting them to be able to do things. Right now, SDIG has someone working from Pakistan. We have someone working from India. We have someone working from Nigeria. Then there's a school we worked with last time, not us directly, but our partner through us worked with the school to train quite a number of people. And 2 of the people that were trained, I don't know about others, but 2 people that contacted me are telling me that because of the training they had, they're able to use the skills they garnered to be able to do things abroad. They do things for German, they do things for France, they do things for British, they do things for Canadians. So Yaredi's point in terms of technological tools, that might actually be one of those we can say we can figure out how to do. We can say how we can do it because we may have number of people at SDIG that are willing to help in this type of thing, willing to put their hours, donate their hours to do this. But on our collective self, to do something much robust, that's where we're going to be looking at how can we help the organization, have the organization out there for them to be known. And because of getting to be known, we could even employ the talents of people who can do grant and find ways to help them support themselves, which will fit into the narrative of the action for refugee lives. So if we can be able to operate on those fronts, I'm not saying that all of them may work at the same level, but we may find out that certain parts are working better than the other. Then we concentrate or put more effort on the areas that are working better so that we get maximum outcome. So to do that, I think we're gonna be able to be looking at what can we do. Would we look into getting a sort of ad hoc committee from your side and from our side? Then they can engage in much deeper, broader discussions as to what are the strategies we can use in order to deal with each and every one of these points. Because I happen to be someone who, when we mention things, if you don't really drill it in and then begin to look at what do we do to move a step towards that, at the end, it seemed like good ideas will just go away. And I can tell you that I think these ladies, they brought in quite, great ideas that I think that are worthy of exploring and figuring out what can we do in order to do that. For instance, now, Nancy may have connections of people that may have this, and on your side, you may have connection of people who had done so well that they just overwhelm those people just by looking at what they have done and what the potential for them to be able to get into the nurse and get it finished. Because nurse is, when I used to work with the chair of the nursing department, and they were saying that it's a very difficult area. When we had meetings, they say that the number is going up, but the number of people passing the exams are low. So those are things we're gonna factor in, and the people that are involved, we're gonna begin to get to know them for them to be able to articulate what are their positions, how are we gonna do this, so that whatever we come up with will be a blueprint for moving forward. Any comment on what I've said, or from Yaredi particularly, and from everyone else? Yes, Ms. Adam.
Thank you, Dr. Nwoye. We have a couple of questions from Twitter and Facebook for people that were not able to join us directly and live. One of the questions is about the current disruption and potential civil war in Sudan, from which country a large number of refugees currently in Kakuma have come over the last 30 years. And the question is, can the guest give us any idea about whether the situation from the last 2 weeks with a potential renewed or started civil war in Sudan, has that had any impact on people arriving into the camp, especially young people arriving into the camp in the past few days?
Yaredi, did you get the question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I got the questions. Yeah. Starting with the with the first question on which nationality has more refugees in Kakuma refugee camp. As I said earlier, that Kakuma refugee camp has more than five nationalities, and the highest number of refugees are from South Sudan. South Sudan, followed by people from Somali, and then people from Democratic Republic of Congo, then followed by people from Sudan. You know, we have South Sudan and Sudan. Those are two countries different. So that is majority of refugees here in Kakuma refugee camp are people from South Sudan. And these are the people who came since 1992, when this camp was established in 1992. So it was only one nationality by then, that was people from South Sudan. And up to moment as we are speaking, the majority their majority. Concerning the situation in Sudan, as I said earlier, that I personally am from Republic Democratic of Congo, but I have my colleagues from Sudan. So whatever data I might get, it might be coming from them or from the news. But what I know is that we as the refugees here in Kakuma refugee camp, we have a limited movement. There's no way that we can move, for example, the friends that I know from Sudan, there's no way that they can move without permission from either UNHCR or government. They used to communicate with their relatives in Sudan in these 2 weeks since the situation started, but nothing they can do apart from communication. If they get communication, only they can communicate. Apart from that, nothing they can do. Government can do nothing. UNHCR can do nothing. And as we are speaking, we have never seen other people from Sudan coming recently. But what we have heard is that there is many people on the border of Sudan and the South Sudan and Kenya. But as we are speaking, they have not arrived in the camp. But what we know is that they're on the way coming. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Eninga. We also have a question from Twitter. Dear SDIG, can you ask your guest what would be their top 3 requests for support at Kakuma secondary refugee camp secondary school? What would be their top 3 requests for support during 2023? So that's from someone that visited me on Twitter, asking what will be your top 3 requests. And he or she, I'm not sure, says, I know this is a difficult question, but any 3 things that you can mention would be interesting.
For sure. Thank you for that question. As I said, that our school here is big with the number of the students, and again, not only my school but other schools here in Kakuma refugee camp. But because we are talking about the Kakuma refugee camp secondary school, so this is the school that carry the name of this camp. We have a lot of requests, a lot, but mostly important is that one is to give the students opportunity to continue with their high education in terms of scholarship. 2, learning materials are very limited. The government can't support. The government itself can't support. It's not supporting the students in learning materials. Very little we get or received from UNHCR. Then if the student can be supported by learning material, shall be thankful. Last but not least, we teachers, we are doing our best. We are refugees. Some of us, we have never been trained as the teachers. Some of us, even if we have some refugees who have been trained, but others not. It's only what we are doing is that as students finished Form 4 and join teaching. No any program that takes the teacher to be trained before they come to school teaching. If also the teacher can get support of being trained before coming to school to teach, it can be very well okay, and we shall appreciate that. Those are major 3 that we can request.
Yaredi, I have one question, though, that still is in the back of my mind. I heard you say that you also have received papers to be resettled in America. How do you think that would affect the camp, though? Because you're principal of the school, and if you go, what is the who's going to continue then? What is the plan you all have there for someone to take over should you leave?
Oh, sure. This program, it is carried out by UNCR. It's a resettlement program carried out by UNCR. And I'm not only refugee who are in that program. I'm not only the refugee who is in education system and get that opportunity. What we used to be done here is that when you get that chance of being resettled in a third country, I mean, we used to have promotions. Like now, I'm the principal of the school, but I have my assistants, 2 assistants, working as a deputy principal. So if I get that opportunity to move from this school going to the third country as a resettlement country, then my deputies here will be promoted from being a deputy head teacher or deputy principal to be a full principal. That's what used to
No,
be
and
done here.
that's what I'm talking about, though, because what I'm seeing it that all the people in the education, because I know Dr. Joseph Nwoye was looking at the education system and the teachers and stuff. But to me, and I'm not faulting you for this, of course, because you need to better your life as well. But I'm seeing the program as being very transitionary in terms of leadership, in that everyone takes a position until they get resettled. So there's actually no system where they're putting people in there to maintain control of that camp. It's all transitionary.
That's why nowadays the government of this county, Turkana County, they are now trying to come up with an idea that since the refugees can't stay in one station for long, then they are coming with an idea that a national principal to be in administration. They mean that not only a refugee can hold a school, even Kenyans themselves, they can come in administration and they cannot move. So those talks are in, but as we are speaking, some of the schools are being headed by the Kenyans. So if I go out, maybe I don't know, not sure, but if I go out, maybe they can bring in a Kenyan.
Okay, no doubt. Why I asked that? Because if we're looking at donors and stuff, Dr. Joseph Nwoye, towards the program, like even the program RL, that program is registered to an overall organization, or is it registered by a person? Because all those things investors look at if they want to see continuity. So those are things you all have to look at. So like if you leave and that program is designed to take care of people at that camp, then who takes over when you are in America? You know, so those are the kind of things that you all need to tighten up, because those are the things investors and people who would put training and resources in would have questions about.
Yes, sure, Madam Teresa. In RL, when we talk about RL, I'm not alone. We are on the board, we are 12 members in RL, and all of us are in Kakuma refugee camp, all of us. And not that all of us, we are gaining these resettlement opportunities. I'm the COO of the RL, but I have Mr. Kiza, who is ahead of me, is our CEO. And I met Mr. Nwoye, I don't know, last month. So if I get this opportunity of moving from the camp, other members are still there. And I believe that they will continue carrying our mission. But again, once I reach there, not only that, I'll be leaving RL completely. We have other members who are in USA and UK.
Are any of the members of Ariel, I mean, because I didn't get to go through in detail, are any of them actually I lost it. No, yeah. So are any of them like fixed there? And that's what I meant. Because I see some of them are studying in the UK, pursuing their bachelor's in different aspects of it. So they're all in what I call a growth transition period. Okay. Anyone fixed in location in Kenya?
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, what I was trying to answer from the question of Madam Teresa is that apart from those who are in UK, there are only 3. Yes, there are only 3. But we have more than 10 members here in Kakuma refugee camp. And according to our constitution, is that if you leave Kakuma refugee camp, does not mean that you leave RL. You can even carry the same activities and the positions that you are carrying while you are in Kakuma refugee camp. So I believe that I personally, if I get that chance to go to USA, if God willing, I'll be much helpful to RL. I'll be much helpful to RL. So I'll continue being a member of RL. I will not leave RL. There's no way that I will leave RL.
I think that's really encouraging comment. And going to the person that asked the question, the 3 top requests, I think the number 3, which is training, is a critical component of it. And such training, this is where I think SDIG may have leverage through the professionals that are part and parcels of SDIG. I'm certain that when we convey the message to those who will be adding value to it, and we have quite a number of educators who've done so much in the area of education, who could also be able to articulating the position of the refugees, in whether it's in our journal or in our blog, and you guys are gonna be part and parcels of it, so that you will convey the appropriate message. We could also request for people who could voluntarily help in training, like SDIG education team. We are working with you guys for them to be able to work with them. When you talk about the content, not having the content, or maybe not really getting a lot of it. And in this day and age, I think we have professionals who, I don't know the extent, because I can't say, there are varied people with various talents in terms of addressing some of those things. The question is, of course, if we don't have the money to do it, we may have maybe work more on grant area to be able to have those people who can help to develop this manpower that will be helpful. Just like technological area, we're gonna be looking at soliciting people who can help. Right now we have 2 students who are gonna be doing their interns with SDIG from University of Chicago, which has been a partner of us, and incredible, highly trained. I don't know what could be up, but I'm saying that this is why we're gonna engage more, beginning to determine what are the ones we can handle on short-term basis, and which one do we say this will be a long term. So I think this is a discussion that would have to continue until we're able to begin to do something substantial that could begin to impact those people who are suffering in the refugee. At the same time, find a channel through which we'll be calling those people who are leaders, and oftentimes they go amnesia. They forget what had happened that resulted in this catastrophic situation, and then they're starting another one in Sudan, just because 2 generals may not understand themselves. Then they don't know the cures, extended consequences of what they do to other people. So we're gonna find ways to, through engagement, how can we do it respectfully, because we are not politicians, but we at least have to point out the truth.
Sure.
All right. Well, I think we've gone like more than we usually go. This is 1.5 hours, but very productive, because I think it gave us more sense of what is happening. So, Mr. Adam, how are things going here? Is it time that we could close and then perhaps come up with the next time, because we're gonna begin to decipher some of these discussions and figure how we take them from here.
Thank you, Dr. Nwoye. And for those of you that are listening to this event on YouTube later on down the line, this has been a Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group live event. Dr. Joseph Nwoye, the president and the founder of the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group, has been in conversation with Mr. Yaredi Eninga, current principal of Kakuma Refugee Secondary School, and the Chief Operating Officer, or COO, of Action for Refugee Life. Today, Friday, the 21st of April, 2023. We would like to thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. It has been a challenging, intuitive, and insightful conversation, including some of the members of SDIG. We'd like to thank our special guest today, Mr. Yaredi Eninga, Principal of Kakuma Refugee Camp and COO of Refugee Life. If you would like to find out more about SDIG, then you are very welcome to take a look through any of our links for the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group, systemicdiversity.org, our main website, and also any of the links that are currently on your screen. This is Sedley Adams in London for the Systemic Diversity and Inclusion Group, signing off and thanking our guest, Mr. Yaredi Eninga, on behalf of the president of SDIG, Dr. Joseph Nwoye. Thank you for joining us. Stay in touch. www.systemicdiversity.org. And if you'd like to drop us an email, feel free to do so to info@systemicdiversity.org. It has been a pleasure being with you. Thank you for your time, and we very much hope to see you again for our next event, or at least sometime soon. SDIG Live.